Well, hey everyone, happy Bulletproof Monday. Susan Sly here, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Today, the topic is turning crisis into cash flow. So whether it's a challenge that you create a story from and you use that to build your business, or you come through a crisis and you actually come out ahead. I'm going to give you 5 examples of companies and celebrities that have turned crises into billions of dollars. Yes, billions. You heard me correctly. And some just millions, but several billions. And so with that, I'd love to get started. A couple things. First and foremost, if you're in Canada, happy Thanksgiving to my fellow countrymen. I hope you are having an awesome day. And I would love to hear what you're thankful for today. I mean, you know, we are all so blessed. If you're watching this through a screen, seriously, you are further ahead than about 40% of the world who's still not connected yet. So shouts out to you. You've got a lot to be grateful for. If wherever you are in the world, whether you're watching, you're listening, just know that all of your comments, all of your questions, I do read all of them. So if you have a comment or a question after this, please go ahead and post it. It's great to see some of the regulars here. Revo and Rick and Bruce. Hey, aloha, Johnny. It was great to be with you last week. And Laura. Hey, Sandra. It's great to see you too, hun. Well, you know, this whole concept of crisis. I know many of you are no strangers to crisis, right? How many of you have had some wall-kicking moments in your life? And maybe it lasted for a day. Maybe for some of you it was a week. Maybe it was a month. Maybe it was a year. Maybe you're going through something right now. And you might be wondering, how am I going to transcend this? The bigger question, and this is what celebrities ask themselves and companies ask themselves, is how can I make money from this? And I firmly believe that the quality of our business is based on the quality and the caliber of the questions we ask ourselves. So big companies and celebrities go, hey, this happened. How can I monetize this? Whereas some people will say, oh, this happened. I feel sorry for myself. And they start to go on this trail of negativity, right? So today we're going to talk about not only 5 examples, but I'm going to give you 5 steps of how these people not only went through a crisis that would destroy a lot of businesses or a lot of brands, but came out on top, which is absolutely crazy. A couple quick announcements. First and foremost, my monthly live free business coaching. So if you don't know, I am a certified coach, best-selling author, keynote speaker, whole bunch of stuff, whatever, mom. I do that only for members of my list, and we have been doing this since the summer. It is so successful. Think of it, you get your own self-made millionaire coach for absolutely free. The price of entry is you have to go over to susansly.com, get on the list, because that's how you get the invitation. So the next one is coming up, I believe October 30th. I have to look and see what my team booked. So make sure you do go over and do that. I am going to be running a business challenge that is also starting October 30th. And this is designed to help small business owners, solopreneurs, even influencers and wannabe influencers finish 2020 strong. Because I am sure you don't want to be setting the same goals January 1st, 2020 that you did January 1st, 2019. And so in this challenge, you want to think of it like a marketing challenge, an organizational challenge. My goal is to help you take your business to a whole new level. So there are going to be daily challenges we're going to do. You're going to get to work with me very closely. And guess what? I'm only going to take 100 people in it. So the first people that will get the invitation are the people on the susansly.com list. So if you're not on the list, make sure you check that out. All right, with that, let's get into it. So turning a crisis into cash flow. Regardless the business you're in, I just want to say this before I give the examples. In the business of, say, direct selling, and I know many of you are in network marketing, direct sales, you always hear that your story is your power. And what people want to know is not about your successes. They want to know about the pain you had and how you used your product or service to transcend that pain. And maybe your pain was time. You just weren't seeing your kids. Maybe your pain was money. You couldn't afford to pay your mortgage, your rent, whatever it was, student loan debt. Maybe your pain was something to do with your health. So what was your pain? How did it feel? And how did you use your business to transcend that? And there's Donald Miller has an amazing program book called Story Branding. And what he talks about is that businesses, influencers, companies that use stories will sell more than those who don't. And the stat is that almost 70% of people will remember your stories over your facts. So if you're not taking past pain and turning it into a story and using that story to promote your product or service, then you're making a big mistake. So let's talk about 5 companies and 5 celebrities that took pain and turned it into a lot of profit. So the top of my list is Kylie Jenner, and I do not care what you say about the Jenner Kardashian clan. I think these are some very, very smart business people. They have managed to take celebrity pop culture, to take a lot of things and turn it into profit. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, regardless of what your judgments are, we have a lot to learn from anyone who achieves. And we can learn 2 things, either what to do or what not to do, right? And so we want to take our personal opinions out of the equation. So Kylie Jenner, one of the things she did when she was underage, there was a lot of flack for this. She was posting photos of herself on Instagram with her lips, and everyone's like, you had a lip job. She's like, no, I didn't. I'm just lining my lips in a certain way, and I'm using, special things and whatever. So finally, she admitted that she had lip injections. Her mom, Kris Jenner, got a lot of grief. How could you let your underage daughter do it? Well, Kylie and her family turned the Lipgate into lip kits, and she became the youngest billionaire on the Forbes list with her lip kit. So, her lip liner, her, lip gloss, whatever, lipstick, whatever it is. And now she has Kylie Cosmetics. So what could have been devastating, and if you look at a lot of teenage influencers out there, Olivia Jade as an example, her mom is Lori Loughlin, who is currently being investigated for paying to have her girls go to USD, getting rowing scholarships or whatever. You look at these young celebrities and you think, gosh, some of them go through a lot of public tragedy, whether it's addiction, whether, it's a scandal of some sort. Very few can do what Kylie Jenner did and turn it into a $1 billion company. So shouts out to her for that. The next one is Korean Air. So back in 2014, there was a massive scandal because the daughters of the chairman of Korean Air were apparently divas. And one of them had a massive adult temper tantrum. She worked for the company on a flight, and she was so offended because the flight attendant brought her nuts in a bag and not on a plate. So she forced the plane to turn around and head back to the gate. And she ended up getting arrested because it was aviation safety and but her father had to fire his own daughter. And guess what? Those Korean Air shares, or the value of Korean Air and their annual sales have actually increased since then by over 2 trillion South Korean won. So there you go. Sometimes you got to fire your own family. The next company on my list is Samsung. So how many of you remember the Samsung Galaxy S7, right? How many of you, and if you had one, you couldn't take it on the plane because those things were blowing up, they were catching on fire, and Samsung went through a massive publicity crisis, and there were critics out there. I was researching this, and they were saying, oh, it's the end of Samsung. Samsung's not going to exist. It's going to destroy the company. So their shares with the Galaxy S7, which is just a few years ago, they plummeted. And today the shares are worth double what they were at the peak of when the S7 happened, right? So companies, what they did, they said, you know what, we are so sorry. We're going to put a lot of money into R&D, and they came out stronger. And now they're doing battle head to head with Apple, the Samsung Galaxy line versus the iPhone. So there you go. The next person on my list is Kylie Jenner's sister. You got to give her credit. So she has an illicit tape of some adult things that are going on when she was Paris Hilton's assistant. This very illicit X-rated tape that went out. And now, do you know, last year Kim Kardashian made $72 million. So she goes from a, you know what tape, Paris Hilton's assistant, to a net worth of about $350 million. She has her Kim Kardashian West Cosmetics line. She just came out with a, I don't know, it's a body shaping line. I don't follow all of her companies, her fragrances, but, you know, have been many celebrities out there that, you know, have one of those tapes that float around. They end up, you know, doing a whole bunch of things. They don't end up with a net worth of $350 million. And now I understand she's going to take her bar exams or something like that. Again, you do not have to be a fan of the Kardashians, but I'm just saying they are masterful at turning any crisis into plenty of cash flow. Even look at their other sister, Khloe. She had two boyfriends, husbands, I don't know, that cheated on her. And then she went on to make even more money after getting cheated on. Most people don't do that. Most people, when someone cheats on them, they end up having a divorce, they lose money. No, somehow she's managed to make even more money after that. So, hey, shouts out to her. The next person I want to talk about is Demi Moore. She just came out with her new biography, Inside Out. There's a point where she writes about her own addictions with drugs and alcohol. Her mother even sold her daughter's her daughter's virginity for $500. And she went on to become one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood for movies like G.I. Jane, Striptease, and so forth. So she was able to take a crisis and turn it into a lot of cash flow. So how do they do it? It comes down to 5 things. So I want you to go ahead and write these down. Number 1 is get honest. People are over brands, influencers, companies being perfect. How many of you are over it, right? So you see CEOs apologize all the time. I was doing research just in terms of CEO apologies, and people love their CEOs, their founders, their leaders to just get honest, to be raw and real. Even Sophia Amoruso, she had the Nasty Gal brand. She ended up losing it. Now she just did a fundraise, and she's doing a whole personal development thing to empower women. And part of it is her getting honest and saying, look, I had a massive ego. I am really sorry about that. So you've got to get honest. If you have had a crisis and for whatever reason, you know, you were not showing up, or you were not performing to the best of your ability, or something happened, instead of burying it in the sand, use it. Every New York Times bestseller right now that is, or any speaker that makes over $25,000 a gig, they are so honest about their pain. It's incredible. So number 2 is take 100% responsibility. There's a part of it you've got to own. So let's say you're in network marketing, and let's say you're in a health and wellness company. You can't be like, oh, you know, well, I was 50 pounds overweight, and it's because my husband kept bringing home donuts. No one respects you. Unless in your sleep, he put those donuts and liquefied them and put them in an IV and injected your veins with all that sugar and fat and white flour. You put those things in your mouth. And so how you would turn that crisis into some kind of a positive is you'd say, you know, I was 50 pounds overweight, and my husband used to bring home donuts, and he didn't force me to eat them, but I ate them because there was a part of me that didn't love myself, and I kept stuffing down my emotions. I was with Johnny Wall last week in Maui, and I was doing a presentation for a group of his leaders, and I was so raw and real. There were people crying in the audience, and people will relate to your pain, especially when you own it, because every one of us is flawed. I'm flawed, you're flawed, but no one likes it when someone behaves as a victim and they're like, well, you know, I was, you know, whatever, I was broke and it's because I got ripped off or I was in a scam. No, at some point you have to take responsibility. All right, the next thing all these celebrities and brands do, number 3, I feel like David Letterman checking off my list today. Number 3 is they figure an outlet out for good. So Kylie Jenner, what she did is she said, hey, you know, you don't have to get lip injections. And recently she said, I'm going to tone it down on those. I want everyone to feel good about their lips. So that's why I designed my lip kits. So they're affordable, blah, blah, blah. So she turned it into something positive, right? Samsung said, you know what? We messed up. So we're going to spend even more money on R&D. Sony, when they had 77 million people's data was breached, a massive data breach for all their PlayStation users, the CEO apologized and he said, listen, I am so sorry. Here's what I did. We're putting all this money in cybersecurity. We're putting all this money in research. You know, when CEOs apologize, what people want to know, look what happened with Tylenol and the cyanide thing. What people want to know is, how are you taking this pain and turning it into a positive? As Pitbull says, you take every negative and you turn it into a positive. All right, number 4 is you use this crisis to make you stronger, okay? So people will give you a ton of attention if you go through a crisis one time. If you keep going through the same thing over and over, like you keep on going bankrupt over and over, or you keep on losing your business over and over, or whatever, not so much. So you take the crisis and you use it to make you stronger somehow. So let me give you an example. I wrote about this on my blog. You can check it out on SusanSly.com. Now, hey, I'm a Canadian living in the United States. I can't vote. Let's not be political, but I'm just using this as an example. Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, they go through their whole thing. He is almost impeached. Do you know what he makes for a talk? $750,000. You got a president who is almost impeached for getting busy in the White House. The public is upset, but not as upset enough to get him impeached, and now he makes $750,000 for about an hour of his time? Really? So I guess he turned that crisis into some serious cash flow. Miss Lewinsky, on the other hand, this is a topic for a whole other day. She only gets about $25,000 to $35,000 a speech. Not fair, totally not fair. But my point being is that they use this crisis to make them stronger, go out and spread the message and do all those things. I don't care if you agree or disagree with that example. I just want to prove to you that if you're going through a crisis, or you've gone through a crisis and you're not monetizing it in some way, even Bill and Monica monetize what happened in the Oval. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. Number 5 is you've got to persevere. In America, in Canada, in Australia, the UK, all over the world, people love those perseverance stories, right? The other night with the kids, we watched Gladiator. And how many of you have seen Gladiator, the movie? And so there, Maximus, you know, his family is killed. He's sold into slavery. And, you know, ultimately he's like, I'm going to get my vengeance. And he's just persevering. And that scene with Joaquin Phoenix stabs him. They put the armor on and he goes to fight him knowing he's injured. And boyfriend still wins. He still defeats Joaquin Phoenix, right? That perseverance. And so if you look at anyone who has turned crisis into some kind of cash flow, you know, I don't care what profession they're in, they have persevered. So with that, hustlers, champions, you guys are absolutely freaking. If you've got a crisis, monetize it, figure out a way to share your story that's going to add value to people's lives and grow your business. Money isn't going to change who you are. This is what Will Smith says. It's going to amplify what's already there. And so if you're a person who's a survivor, you're an achiever, and you've come through something and you can use that pain to empower others and OPS, make some money in the process, there is nothing wrong with that. So with that, God bless. Go out there and rock your day. Again, I'm Susan Sly. If this has been valuable to you, please share it, like, comment, do all that great stuff with it. I would love to do some free coaching with you, business coaching. So go to SusanSly.com, get that invitation. Again, my challenge group, 30-day challenge group, starts October 30th. It's going to be going first to the people on the list. That's it. When we have 100, that's it. It's going to be absolutely awesome. You can work with me for 30 days. It's going to be amazing. So with that, I will see you next time.